You get high off of epiphanies. That's the drug of the self-help junkie. Scrolling through Instagram reels, little TikTok videos, and just getting, oh, epiphany. Oh, epiphany. Oh, that was good. Oh, that made me think. Oh, I didn't consider that. Oh. And then you think that the more epiphanies you have, eventually you're going to change. But that's not true. What happens is that you simply learn a lot about your problems. And you know a lot about them. But knowing about your problems doesn't equal solving your problems. You'll see people like this. They know everything about their problem. They're like, look, I know that, what I'm dealing with comes from trauma. When I was 4 years old, this thing happened, and then it affected my first relationship this way, and then this thing and that thing happened in the relationship, would affected me this way and this way. They can tell you everything about it. They know every little detail. But it didn't solve it. There's a difference between knowing versus solving. And people use self-help just to know. They also use self-help to just productively procrastinate. Meaning, say you're not going to actually work on yourself and change. And you have two options. One is to watch some Netflix. The other is to watch a Julien YouTube video. Yeah. If you're not going to take action on it and do the work, both are a waste of time. But it's easier to not feel guilty about not taking action if it feels like you're learning in the meantime. So this is where you have to sit down and say, am I going to actually put in the work and change or not? Do I have the willingness to change or not? And it's very few people who do. As a coach, it can be very challenging too, because you're like, I want everyone to change, and it can be baffling. You're like, well, why don't some change? And then there's that famous quote, which is, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. And any of you who are coaches, you have to come to peace with that. Saying, look, there's what's in my control and what's out of my control. In the end, you can't control other people. And that's also part of free will. You can't control them. You can help them and guide them based upon their own drive or inspiration, their own willingness, but you can't impose that willingness on them. And anytime you try, people will always fight back and rebel. I have a friend of mine, every single person he dates, he tries to, I think it happens more so unconsciously, impose a lot of self-help and success things on that person. But because the willingness to work on themselves doesn't come from the person, it's like, let's do this, you should do that, come try this, check this out. Eventually they all break up because they're like, nah, I don't want this. Because it's imposed. You must change, you must do this. It's like, no, that has to come from them. So it's the good old, lead as many horses to water as possible, show them where the water is. You might have friends and acquaintances like that too. You're like, if they just put in the work, why don't they? Well, show them where the solution is, show them where the water is, but in the end, they have to drink. You can't take the tongue out and get them to drink for you. The drinking has to come from them. And then turning the mirror around on you is, well, are you ready to drink? And if not, how much more pain are you willing to endure? Time doesn't make things easier. That's the other big illusion. We think that the longer we wait, maybe it'll get easier after a period of time. That's not true. You know what time does? It gets you more entrenched in your comfort zone. Guess what? The more you act in your comfort zone, the more addicted you are to it, right? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you think, well, maybe I'll wait a bit longer, then you're giving more time to yourself to be even more addicted to your comfort zone. Not just that, but you also get older. You get more tired, there's more responsibilities. It doesn't get easier with time. Literally, the longer you wait, the worse it gets. If you want to make things way harder on yourself, wait. And then also stop believing in fairy tales, thinking that there's going to be this magical moment where suddenly you're motivated. Suddenly things change. You're like, yes, I'm going to do it. There isn't. And if there is, it's called rock bottom. Let that land. They tell this, by the way, in terms of alcoholics, right? There was an acquaintance of ours, a couple friends, way back in the day, who would drink a ton and was just going down this deep spiral, and we'd try to help him, but nothing would work. And we talked to someone in AA, funny enough, and the advice they said is, well, there's not much you can do except that hope that he reaches rock bottom sooner than later and hope that it's not terrible. But he has to reach that point where it hits rock bottom, where he wakes up and the decision and willingness to change comes from him. Just as we talked about, if we try to impose it, like, don't drink, he's going to find a way to drink. That initial spark has to come from that person, and then they can seek support, so on and so forth, but spark has to come from within. And usually people wait till things are so terrible that that's what wakes them up. So if you're waiting for some special moment, you're waiting for rock bottom. Otherwise, it ain't gonna come. And that's once more what Disney movies tell you, superheroes tells you, right? It's the good old Spider-Man. People see Peter Parker before being bit by a spider, just being a friendly little nerd. Then the spider bites him, and what happens? Spider-Man. And you think, well, when's my spider coming? When's my spider coming to bite me? That spider's not coming. You want to be Spider-Man? Bite yourself. It's on you. You decide. No one's going to decide for you. No one's going to wake you up. And no one's also going to lose sleep over you. And that's part of the harsh truth too. You can succeed or not. In the end, you're the only person living your life. No one cares. Say you decide to just not change and let everything go to trash. You might think someone's going to come save you because as a kid, your parents might have come or whoever raised you. It's like, oh, here, I'll help. But after a while, they'll stop. And after a while, you'll start spiraling down. And at first, they'll care. At first, they'll start feeling sorry. Like, oh, did you hear about Julien? Oh, that's not good. What can we do to help him? And they'll try to help. And they'll try to help some more. Time will pass. They'll help some more. And eventually, they'll get used to the idea that you're just a failure. And that's just you. And then the help will stop. And people will, instead of helping you and try to change you, will every time when they see you, they'll just try to be nice and kind of look at you with pity. It's like, oh, are you doing okay? Oh, aw. And then they'll talk behind your back about just how sad it is. So much potential wasted, but can't save everyone. And eventually you'll have that label in everyone's mind, and people won't think as much about you. They'll just accept it. And then that'll just be you in your life. No one's coming to save you. If you think your family is, that's what's going to happen. They'll try, and then nothing will change, and then they'll accept you, and they'll cope and live with it. They'll hang out less too, because seeing you makes them feel uncomfortable and sad. I go, I don't want to be depressed seeing that sad piece of shit. Let's avoid it. And that's the future. So in the end, your life really is in whose control? Yours. You're your own boss. You're your own CEO. You're your own parent. And some key things to reflect on, as I said, is, well, what am I actually hoping for in terms of this wake-up call? Haven't I experienced enough pain? You know who told me this, by the way? This is way back in the day in 2015, early 2015. I was very, at the time, self-destructive. That was part of the identity that ran me. And just like someone who is addicted to their comfort zone, that was my comfort zone. Just being very self-destructive. I just couldn't let success land. And I was at a party in the Hollywood Hills. And there was a fancy party, and there was a fortune teller at this party. So you go into this little side room, and there was like the crystal ball, and they tell you your future, right? Now, do I believe in that? Not really, but who knows, maybe. But I was curious. You're at a party, so I went in, and the lady sat down and asked me and said, looked at my hands and all, and she said, you've had enough. I was like, had enough of what? And takes the other hand. It's like, you've had enough. It's like, you've suffered enough. It's time to let go. You don't have to keep doing this. You've suffered enough. Now, it was a very basic cold read, but it spoke to me. No joke. I was like, she's right. Now, did it change anything long term? No, but it was a good, just funny story reminder. No, what changed things long term was really doing the work. Like, no one's words or sentence will ever change you long term. They can point you in the right direction, sure, and have an impact that way, but but I wish it was that easy, right? Like even sometimes on social media, I'll post something and a comment will be, they just have to stop caring so much. I'm like, really? If that's all they had to do, like if that worked, hey, you just got to stop caring. I wish it was that easy. No, a little line or something won't work. But it's true, and it got me thinking, and for all of you too, it's, well, how much more are you just willing to suffer? How much more pain are you willing to take until you do something about it? And that's a lot of people. It's like, and I experienced this even back in the day, way early on. Like, I used to drink a lot, and I even smoke, and I knew it wasn't healthy, but I kept saying, I got time. So I knew I was on a downward slope, but I wasn't towards that rock bottom yet. So I got time. Maybe when I get closer, I'll experience that wake-up call. I got time. And that's the slow death that gets people. Stop it now. Put that foot down now and do something about it. Get off the slow death slope. And you don't have that much time. And there is no such thing as stagnating. You're either moving up or you're moving down. If you don't realize you're moving up now, you're moving down. Feeling like you're staying the same is also moving down, as we talked about, because you get more entrenched in your comfort zone. So it's not actually staying the same, it's moving down. And that's on you. You can move up or down, but in the end, no one cares. And one final thing, no one also cares if you make it. I said no one cares if you fail, but no one cares if you make it either. And this also comes down to realizing how we always try to live for others, but in the end, it's live for you. What feels good and authentic for you? Stop trying to prove people wrong or live to impress others, because they don't care. They're busy with their own lives. You know, it's funny. I grew up in, like I said, Switzerland. And my first, this is like 2010, I did a speech in front of a big crowd. And I remember posting a picture on Facebook. Right? It was my personal Facebook. So all my friends from, high school, university, et cetera, would see. And I was not very popular in high school, university. And I was like, look, that day where I said, I'll show them. One day they'll see who I am and how cool I am. And I posted that picture, and it literally felt like, today's the day. Post, no one cared. I literally thought all the comments would be like, oh my God, look, he changed. Look at him, we were all wrong. He's so cool. No one cared. Literally, I think he just got a few likes, and was like, cool. Everyone's busy with their own stuff. They don't care. Literally, that whole idea of me proving them wrong was all self-generated and all in my head. I was like, I'll prove them wrong. It's just all in your head. And then audit, too, the amount of in-your-head stories that you're creating. Right? Like, what I did is no different than, I'll get weird emails, for example, from time to time. One was someone who'd email me a lot thinking that I'd speak to him, that I was speaking to him through my videos, basically. So I was leaving code words in my videos, and it was specifically to this one person. And I'd get long emails and audios. It's like, stop playing games with me, Julien. I'm like, what? He's like, I saw what you did in that last video. You said that word. I knew you were speaking to me. You're push-pulling me, Julien. It's like, now this actually happens a lot, for real. So if I do die, you know who did it. But you think about that and you're like, what kind of story is just this person living in? Like, what kind of weird movie? But it's no different than what I was doing. One day I'll show them all. It's no different than most of us, what we're doing, right? We're walking down the street, everyone's judging me. I'm the center of attention. Are you? Then you're just as crazy as that person. You're not. I'm the center. Everyone's focusing on me. I'm so important. Are you? This can also be freeing, meaning, hey, stop living for others, live for you. Stop caring so much about what other people think. It doesn't matter. And not just that, but nowadays people forget so fast. Short attention spans, ADD. If you want something else to be scared about with society, I'd be scared of that. Meaning that a lot of you could say on a societal level, conversations that we all have to have. One, they're very nuanced, meaning that if you put the politically correct PC label on it, it doesn't allow any nuance, so it won't get to nuance. But say you were. Say you took off the PC and said, everyone can speak their mind. Let's have deep conversations. People can't focus that long. Their attention spans are too low, and they're dumber than ever, and they'll forget. So we reached a point where as a society, we can't even focus long enough to get to real deep conversations. Pretty scary, right? Literally, for most people, even a 15-second Instagram story is too long. Next. 5 seconds, too long. Most people can't even lock in for more than that. It's crazy, right? Which is also why you see, again, all these kind of TikTok side things popping up. It's like you need short, you need flash, you need every word to be like subtitles in your face, so on and so forth, because otherwise people can't focus. Quite concerning, huh? Good luck then trying to teach something to someone. Good luck passing on deep lessons. You know, Reels and TikTok, so on and so forth. It's still helpful, but it's helpful in terms of awareness. It's not going to change your life. To change your life, it requires more depth. Same here in terms of this whole type of work. Watching some YouTube videos won't change your life. You need depth. Even when watching the YouTube videos, add depth. Versus I'm watching, but I'm on my phone and I'm on other tabs and I'm kind of doing in background. No, truly lock in. You can challenge yourself. Go home and even just start small. Put a 20-minute video and see if you can watch for 20 minutes, not on double speed. 20 minutes, regular speed, no tabs, no phone, no distractions, nothing. Just you sitting there, not even eating or drinking anything, just sitting there, and see what it does. And you'll be surprised, just that, adding that depth, will be more beneficial than surface watching a lot more. It's actually an advantage I had back in the day starting out, is there wasn't all those videos on YouTube. Starting out back in the day, you had way less how-to, but if you got your hands on something good, you'd watch it again and again and again, and you'd add the depth and you'd take action on it. Bring more of that old school mindset here, and you'll crush it a lot more.